Hello, welcome to A Book a Day. Today we will be discussing the book Understanding Business. This is a classic book for business enlightenment, written by the author in approximately 700,000 words to construct a comprehensive framework for business cognition. The content of the book covers various fields such as strategy, finance, human resources, marketing, and operations. It can help young people establish business knowledge and assist professionals in making good business decisions. Understanding Business is also the most widely adopted introductory textbook for business in American universities, with millions of copies sold globally. The book has three authors, William Nichols, Jim McHugh, and Susan McHugh, who are experts in the field of business course design and teaching. In this book, they integrate theory and practice very well. If you are preparing to start a business, don't miss this book. As Lu Run, a famous Chinese business speaker, said for entrepreneurs, this book is like an American version of a parenting manual since its publication in 1986. The book has been revised and reissued several times. The edition we are presenting to you today is the 12th edition of Understanding Business. In this edition, the authors have added many new business practices, as well as the latest research results that affect business, such as the gig economy, social media advertising, robot advisors, and so on. Doesn't it sound very relevant to our current situation? It is very up to date. After this edition, this book is likely to continue to be updated and expanded with new knowledge. Keeping up with the times and always understanding various new issues is essential for us to adapt to the times and meet the challenges in the business world. However, if we look back at the previous editions of this book by following the 12th edition, what will we see? Besides changes, what remains unchanged? We have obtained the 9th edition of Understanding Business and compared the two versions. We found that the overall content framework, the main concepts, terms, and common sense discussed in each chapter have hardly changed. Being up to date is undoubtedly a highlight of the new editions of this book, but its classic status and global sales mainly rely on the basic knowledge conveyed in the book. It is precisely these unchanged elements that have shaped the book's classic status. How basic are the terms in the book? To give an example, the book's definition of business is all activities that seek to provide goods and services to others while operating at a profit. Isn't it straightforward? This book introduces hundreds of such basic terms. Although they are fundamental and easy to understand, you must not underestimate them. As the author said in the preface, the glossary is the most important and useful part of this book. Why are simple and basic things the most important and useful part of this book? If you enjoy reading business books, you will find that senior practitioners in different industries who share their success experiences always mention the same thing: the beginner's mindset. When giving advice to their juniors, they always say to approach knowledge with the same eagerness as a beginner, and to respect common sense. This is because common sense can tell us what we can and cannot do. As the author said in the book, the success of any venture depends on understanding the basic principles and knowing how to apply them effectively. If you are not interested in doing business, you may be a little worried that you don't need to understand this book. Actually, regardless of whether a person does business or not, the basic business principles in this book can be helpful. For example, if someone wants to change jobs, they can use the marketing principles mentioned in the book to sell their ideas to people and find a job. Similarly, people who work for nonprofit organizations can use the contents of the book to prepare financial documents and explain to potential donors how the organization can use donations effectively to attract their investment. The glossary is the most important and useful part of this book. The question is, this book talks about hundreds of business terms, which cannot be covered in a 30-minute audio recording. What should we do? Let's go back to the title of the book, Understanding Business. Do you notice something? The title actually implies that most people do not really understand business and have many misconceptions about it. Today, we will start with the most controversial and misunderstood aspects of the business world and clarify them so that we can understand the basic principles of business. Today's interpretation has three parts, each corresponding to a question. Does business have rules? What is the basis for the progress of business? What is the goal of a business? Okay, let's move on to the first part. Let's first talk about whether there are rules in business. Many entrepreneurs, investors, and scholars would say that the business world is complex and chaotic, and there are no rules to follow. For example, management guru Charles Handy once proposed in his book The Age of Unreason that the changes in this world will be discontinuous, and there are no patterns to follow. Past successes have almost no relation to the problems we will encounter tomorrow. The only thing that can be foreseen is that nothing is foreseeable. They also like to use the term VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity to describe the business world. VUCA is not an English word, but an acronym for 4 English words. Specifically, V volatility refers to instability, U uncertainty refers to uncertainty, C complexity represents complexity, and A ambiguity refers to vagueness. Simply put, VUCA means no rules. This term was originally proposed by the military, and later people in business found it suitable for describing the business world. So they used it. It is not easy to thrive in a complex, volatile, ambiguous, and uncertain environment. Horowitz, a foreign investor who had started a business, and wrote a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, said that he had started a business for 8 years, but only had 3 days of happy days in total. Anyway, when it comes to whether there are rules in business, the opinions of many business people are similar to Horowitz's. They all feel that the business world is unpredictable, and there are no rules, making it difficult for people to feel satisfied. Okay, that's the first answer to this question. Let's put it aside and take a look at a story in the book. Decades ago, a new immigrant to the United States, Anne-Marie Campbell, worked as a sales assistant at the Home Depot, a retailer of home building and hardware products. Campbell's job was not ideal for her career development in some ways, such as her heavy Jamaican accent. Additionally, when customers had questions, they often requested to speak to a male colleague, and she was the only female in the sales department at the time. What did she do? Campbell was very clever. She would choose a male colleague who knew nothing about the issue to assist, and that person would then defer the problem back to her to solve. Later, a senior executive came to the store and raised an issue, and only Campbell was able to answer it. From then on, she began her path to promotion. With her increase in contributions to the company, she became the executive vice president of the Home Depot's U.S. stores in 2016, leading more than 400,000 employees. In the world, we have heard many similar stories. The author says, business people like Campbell have made many contributions to society, and therefore live a prosperous life. That's the meaning of business. We can think back to our own neighborhood, and see if there are many small shops selling breakfast or vegetables. The operators of these small shops have changed their lives and improved their family's wealth by doing a good job with their small businesses. We believe that everyone has many such people around them. These stories show us that although the business environment is full of fluctuations and uncertainties, there are also rules to follow, and one of the rules is that hard work pays off, just like Campbell did, using wisdom and hard work to open his path to success. Whether business has rules or not, everyone has their own opinion. You are welcome to share your thoughts in the comments section. We believe that business does have rules. If there were no rules, how would we understand business? Understanding business is actually understanding the rules. What business rules can we learn from this book today? When people hear the word business, the first thing they may think of is making money. We will introduce a rule about making money from the book. The author says, you don't have to make wealth your top priority in the business field. If you satisfy the market demand and provide customers with what they want, you will naturally make money for yourself, and sometimes even make a lot of money. In other words, if you want to make money, you need to use real value to please users. This rule is very important, and is a theme repeated throughout this book. Satisfying market demand and providing customers with what they want may sound a bit abstract. We can expand it a bit and summarize it as allowing more people to buy more abundant goods or services at lower prices, and in more convenient ways. It may sound a bit complicated, but you must have noticed that there are 4 more words in this sentence. Upon careful analysis, we will find that the most impressive aspect of business is embodied in these 4 more words. By breaking through one of them, a billion-dollar innovative company may emerge. Combining our own life experiences, let's break down these 4 more words in this sentence and see if this is the case. What does more people mean? For example, if your family has a shop selling local specialties, opening an online store can serve more people. Moving offline business opportunities to the internet to serve more people can be said to be the most important innovation in the past decade. Next, let's talk about lower prices. This doesn't need much explanation. E-commerce websites often have various discounts, and by using business operations instead of just burning money, prices can be lower than before, which is a significant innovation. Looking at more convenient ways, services like home delivery and running errands make it more convenient for us to shop. In the past, when we needed to buy new clothes, household items, or green plants for the new year, we may have had to go to several different stores. Now they can be delivered directly to our doorstep. Lastly, let's look at more abundant goods. Take a bookstore, for example. An ordinary brick-and-mortar bookstore may be considered impressive if it can stock 10,000 books. But an online bookstore like Amazon has at least several 100,000. Let's take another look at this sentence. Let more people buy richer goods or services at lower prices and more convenient ways. Or in the words of the book, you need to use real value to please the customers. This rule is very important. Following it can lead to great breakthroughs. But what if someone violates it? What will happen? The book has an example. Wells Fargo was once the world's largest bank by market value, but in 2016 it had an ugly scandal. It turned out that since 2011, employees of the company had opened millions of fake bank accounts in customers' names without their knowledge in order to improve sales performance and earn more bonuses. As a result, Wells Fargo was fined $180 million, fired over 5,000 employees, lost tens of thousands of customers, and seriously damaged public trust. There are many companies like Wells Fargo that do not use real value to please customers, but instead use their trust to profit. They may succeed for a while, but rest assured that they can only harvest for a limited time. Taking Wells Fargo as an example, public opinion of the company dropped from 60% to 24% after the scandal was exposed. When people now hear about Wells Fargo, they immediately think of that scandal. Rebuilding trust, which was destroyed by their own hands, is not easy. So the first common misconception we want to refute today is that business has no rules. Business is not unpredictable, but has certain rules, and the rule is to use real value to please customers. Following this rule can lead to great breakthroughs. Next, let's look at the second question. What is the driving force behind the progress of business? To phrase it differently, what is the driving force behind business? Some people may say it is technological innovation, while others believe it is human desire for a better life. However, according to the author of this book, in the United States, one core driving force behind the prosperity of business is entrepreneurial spirit. What is entrepreneurial spirit? The book defines it as willingness to undertake the risks of starting and running a business. The author says, if you carefully study the stories of some great American entrepreneurs throughout history, you will understand that entrepreneurs are the backbone of job creation. The history of the United States is the history of American entrepreneurs, the author also says. The reason why wealthy countries are wealthy today is because they vigorously promote entrepreneurial spirit and effectively utilize knowledge. Those who agree with the viewpoint that the history of the United States is the history of American entrepreneurs are not limited to the author of this book. Richard Tedlow, author of the book The 7 Giants of Business History, also says that entrepreneurs are so important that they can change the orders, system, and culture of their time. Many people who study the history of business emphasize the driving role of entrepreneurial spirit in business. However, some people may not agree with this answer, because entrepreneurial spirit, as well as ideals and visions, sounds particularly abstract and intangible, lacking practical value and being optional. This is actually the second common misconception people have about business. Entrepreneurial spirit is a particularly crucial variable in business. In the process of continuous evolution of business, without entrepreneurs investing their personal ideals and entrepreneurial spirit, many advancements and products may not have emerged. Does it really have such a big impact? The book mentions a lot of American entrepreneurs, such as Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, and so on. These entrepreneurs have similar entrepreneurial experiences. They all had a good idea, raised funds, and started their own businesses. Take Henry Ford, for example. He wanted to turn cars from luxury items into everyday items. Bezos came up with the idea that books were the most suitable products to sell online, and started his everything store, Amazon, by selling books. Without their personal ideals, cars and online shopping might not have become so popular so early. Regarding how entrepreneurial spirit drives business progress, the examples in the book are relatively simple, as it is a textbook and each section is limited in length. To help you better understand the driving role of entrepreneurial spirit, we want to supplement with an example outside the book. Through this example, we can also understand what traits are needed to become an entrepreneur. The protagonist of this example is no stranger to anyone. He is Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla. Musk is most famous for making electric cars, a product that many Chinese companies are also working on. However, Musk's goal in making electric cars is to enable human migration to Mars, a goal that perhaps only he has in the world. His dream is to make humanity a multiplanetary species and achieve space survival. Musk has announced that his dying wish is to witness the realization of the Mars colonization plan, and he expects that by 2050, 1 million people will be living on Mars. At that time, his Tesla company could open the first extraterrestrial factory on Mars. Please note that 1 million people living on Mars, not traveling. Mars is very cold, with an average temperature of -55 degrees Celsius and almost no oxygen. How can people live in such an environment? This plan is too crazy. However, the most shocking thing about Musk's story is not how crazy his plan is, but his entire business logic, which can actually be executed towards this plan. To make human life on Mars possible, it cannot be achieved by Tesla alone. We know that Musk has several other companies besides Tesla, such as SolarCity, a subsidiary of Tesla, and the largest solar energy company in the United States. Why does Musk make solar energy and electric cars? According to his business layout, there's no oxygen on Mars, so the energy problem can only be solved by solar energy, and people can only drive electric cars. He also has a company that is working on an underground high-speed tunnel project, which could potentially be a means of transportation on Mars in the future. You see, Musk has made such a big chess move. Some people may think that it is because he has been successful with Tesla, which has expanded his vision. But did you know? This plan was not thought up by Musk after he succeeded. He had already thought it through and made it public in 2006. That year he published Tesla's secret master plan, which included these plans. If we carefully compare his achievements with his business layout at the time, we will find that Musk and Tesla are actually following this plan and pushing forward. Moreover, their efforts have also driven commercial progress. For example, in the field of intelligent electric vehicles, Tesla is a leader in new technologies, such as autonomous driving, and a disruptor of traditional fossil fuel industries. In the commercial space industry, Musk has a star company called SpaceX, which has created many new records. Their spacecraft can transport goods and NASA astronauts to the International Space Station at a lower cost. Hearing these achievements, I don't know if you feel emotional. A self-made person can rely on his personal ideals and entrepreneurial spirit to gradually execute a crazy goal and drive business progress. Musk is a representative of successful entrepreneurs, and he is also an object that many entrepreneurs and young people want to surpass. So what does it take to become an entrepreneur, and what traits are required? The book defines an entrepreneur as someone who is willing to invest time and money to start and manage a business. Does that mean that only those with management skills and leadership abilities can be entrepreneurs? In the author's view, skill-related things can be acquired through later learning. True entrepreneurial traits are hard to acquire later in life and are more innate. For example, to become an entrepreneur, a person must have the ability to self-regulate. Even if no one agrees with your ideas, you will believe in yourself and repeatedly reignite your motivation and passion. You not only need great business ideas, but also action-oriented, actually creating and realizing them. You need to have enough energy to sustain long-term and exhausting work. And you need to be able to tolerate uncertainty and not fear failure. Everyone may have their own workplace hero or business idol, and we can use these traits to examine them. If you want to start a business, you can also use these traits to examine yourself. By now, I believe that everyone can feel how important entrepreneurial spirit is. However, the entrepreneurial spirit cannot work alone. For a project as large as human migration to Mars, Musk alone cannot do it. This means that the entrepreneurial spirit also requires something else that is especially important, and that is the enterprise. Next, a new question arises. What is the goal of a business? In other words, what do they want in return for providing genuine value to their customers? Many people might think of making a profit. There's a saying that goes something like, an unprofitable business is immoral starting a business, and making a lot of money seems like a natural outcome. So is making a profit the goal of a business? It's not. Believing that the goal of a business is to make a profit is a third common misconception about business. So, what is the goal of a business? It's not to create profit, but to create customers. The author of the book argues that the reward for socially responsible businesses is gaining new customers. Creating customers is also a consensus among many management experts and entrepreneurs. Peter Drucker, a management master, has a similar saying, but he put it more absolutely. The fundamental purpose of a business is one and only one thing, and that is to create customers. What does it mean to create profit versus creating customers? For example, two small business owners are selling assembled computers. Mr. Zhang is good at persuading customers to spend more money selling computers for 3,000 or 4,000 yuan, and earning over 1,000 yuan for each sale. There's also Mr. Huang, who is honest and reliable, selling computers within profit margins, earning only 30 or 40 yuan per sale. Mr. Zhang is good at creating profit. Although his profits are very high, he's cheating his customers one by one, and he's destroying his own reputation. Mr. Wang's professionalism and customer-oriented approach, on the other hand, will create more and more customers for him. In the business world, there's a large company that's particularly good at creating customers, and that's Amazon. They have several 100 million daily active users. How did they create such a large user base? The answer is to find ways to treat customers well. How does Amazon treat its customers well? The book Understanding Business doesn't specifically mention this, but we've collected some interesting details to share with you. Amazon's founder Bezos once said in a letter to shareholders that they chose the largest bookstore in the United States and the top 100 best-selling books at the time. They found that if they added $1 to the price, Amazon was 23% cheaper than that bookstore. They continued to calculate and found that Amazon was cheaper for 72 of the books, tied for 25 of them. But for 3 of them, Amazon's price was higher. So they quickly adjusted the price. You see, to provide lower prices to customers, it's not even acceptable for 3 out of 100 books to be priced higher. They all have to be adjusted immediately. Another example is Amazon's cloud services, where they sell their own company's cloud computing capabilities to other companies. This business is particularly profitable, and for a long time, they had no competitors. For most people, this would be an opportunity to make a lot of money quietly. However, what did Amazon do? To ensure that they could provide lower prices to their customers, in the absence of competitive pressure, they lowered the price of this service 51 times. You heard that right, 51 times. For example, let's take Amazon's cloud services again. They had a big client, a retail company, that had been their partner for 10 years. One day, this company decided they didn't want to use Amazon services anymore and wanted to build their own network infrastructure. Amazon not only didn't try to stop them, but actually spent 2 years helping them move all the data they had stored on Amazon's platform to their own. This is the spirit of creating customers. Being able to do this means that the customer would find it very difficult to leave Amazon. Amazon has many businesses, and their success in most of them comes from their insight into their customers' needs. This real-life example from the business world is consistent with an important point in the book Understanding Business. The most successful companies are those that are most sensitive to their customers' demands. The logic is simple. If a company is sensitive to its customers' needs and provides real value to please them based on those needs, then more people will be able to buy more diverse goods or services at a lower price and in a more convenient way. With a large customer base, the company can gain more insights into customer needs, develop new businesses, and profits will be a natural result. Creating customers, is this the ultimate goal of a company? What does a large customer base mean? Let's take one step further. Creating customers can also create more social structures, which can extend connections between people and make their relationships even closer. What does it mean to create social structures? If you've been living in your current home for a long time, there may be a small restaurant that has been around for decades downstairs or on the street corner. First, your grandparents went there to eat. Then they took their children there. When the children grew up, they took their own families there. The old neighbors sit together in the restaurant and chat about family affairs. And several decades of time are condensed in this room. This small restaurant has created a small social structure, hasn't it? We all start off living in familiar networks, only getting to know our family, classmates, and colleagues. It is businesses in the commercial world that have created various social structures. Take a car company, for example. It not only produces cars, employs staff, and satisfies users nationwide and globally, but it also has numerous 4S stores and distributors around the world that revolve around its innovation, creating more social structures and bringing vitality to society. What is the use of social structures created by businesses? With these structures, we are no longer trapped in small familiar networks. Middle-aged people who buy a car can have their own car club. Elderly people who spend money to take dance classes can join their own dance groups. Kids who buy a drawing book can also have their own children's book clubs. With new partners in our lives, we will have new expectations for the future. As more and more innovative businesses emerge, and social structures become more diverse, our lives will have more dimensions to support them. If you also want to start a business or want your company's products to create new social structures, what should you do? This is where sharpening the blade comes in. To make a blade sharper, you can use a sharpening stone. Whether the blade of a company's product is sharp or not, and whether the product is popular or not, depends on users, who act as the sharpening stone for the company. However, business people all know that it's difficult to always stay in tune with customers and provide what they want. People inevitably develop products based on their own ideas rather than customer needs. At this point, customer rejection of products or services can be a signal for the enterprise to correct its direction. Is the role of customers just to help enterprises adjust their direction? Let's dig deeper. When a customer accepts a product or service, it not only involves voting with their feet and paying the bill, but also embeds the enterprise's values into a larger social structure. When someone's creation becomes a popular product, and then becomes part of public service, the enterprise has undoubtedly found its place in society. We all know that for a business to survive in the commercial world, its profitability is no longer the most important factor. Only by truly embedding itself into the social structure and providing unique value to the entire society can a business have a chance to survive in the long term. Therefore, we can also say that for a business, the goal worth pursuing is not just profit growth, but also the depth of its embedding in the social structure. That's the end of the book Understanding Business, We hope that tomorrow, you can take a moment to reflect on what we discussed today. Perhaps you won't remember specific company names or people mentioned, but what's important is that we learn 3 basic principles about business: that it follows certain rules, that entrepreneurship is crucial, and that creating customers is the ultimate goal. If you can't remember those 3 points, that's okay. What's important is to remember the word common sense. Hundreds of basic concepts and principles are discussed in this encyclopedia of the business world, but they all boil down to common sense. Finally, we'd like to share a little story with you. Do you know what's most likely to start a forest fire? Is it an open flame or a cigarette butt? No, it's a mineral water bottle, specifically one that still has water inside. When a bottle with water becomes a convex lens, it can focus sunlight and start a fire. This story is interesting because each step in the chain is based on basic common sense that we all know. But when these pieces of common sense are combined in an unexpected way, they create new knowledge that most people don't know. We often hear that truth is in the hands of a few, but the truth is that common sense is also in the hands of many. The challenge is to value common sense, not be limited by it, and find new knowledge within it. This may be a long journey, but we hope that this book, which is full of common sense, can accompany you along the way. That concludes today's episode. Congratulations, you've completed another book.